Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Suzanne Rabicoff, General Manager, Future of Work, somehow part of her job title, at Invisible Technologies Incorporated. Suzanne, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. ITC was a whirlwind, but a beneficial one.
It was your first ITC, right?
It was our first ITC.
Okay, so
Visible Technologies is vertical agnostic. We're team agnostic, but we have a great concentration of customers in the insurance and insurtech space.
okay, so for the listeners who were not at ITC, or even those that were at ITC but were not part of our little group, so basically, my roommate, also known as Italian Jesus, also known as Surfer Jesus,
Mhm.
uh, also known as Zachary Tempesta, founder at Lightship Technologies, I believe it's Technologies, uh, comes to me at the end of the night at like 2 a.m. on, I don't know, Tuesday or something, and
Mhm.
says, I met the most hilarious woman ever, right? And says she was it kidnapped, or she took
Hijack.
over a meeting that I was having with a prospect. I think he used the word kidnapped, or I remember that, but it was a hostile takeover of a meeting he was having with a prospect.
Mhm.
And she's the most
Mhm.
hilarious woman ever. And I was like, oh, cool, and just kind of moved on, right? And then the next day, I can't remember if he introduced us or if we met or whatever. But anyway, the three of us ended up hanging out together. And then fast forward from there to Friday morning, it's basically the Hangover Part One. There were tigers involved and sweet parties and like just all sorts of crazy shenanigans. And now like the three of us are like siblings basically.
In-
uh, so anyway,
Indeed.
it was fantastic to hang out at ITC. So for the listeners, if you are in InsurTech and you were not at ITC this year, shame on you, and see you next year, because it is the cannot miss conference slash party slash concert slash just
Just slash.
just slash exactly just slash
Slash.
of the year. You cannot miss it. I already booked my room for next year. Next year ITC is during Halloween week. Can you imagine? Like, this is my normal ITC outfit, this and a red jacket, right? Like, I'm already planning my budget for next year because it's on Halloween week. Like, I want to go crazy. So you have to come to ITC to see my costumes for next year. Imagine like Elton John meets Queen meets Tech Bro. Oh, okay. So you're back in New York City now. You're back safely in New York City somehow. I'm back in Atlanta, Georgia, and uh, we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is invisible technologies?
Thank you. So, why am I general manager, future of work? Highest level, we're around to help leaders re envision the way they think about getting work done. There's a lot of talk about future of work and working remotely and workplaces, but not a lot of talk about the actual work, the actual output, and how you can accomplish output. So, invisible technologies is a bit of a unique solution. We're a tech enabled managed services partner, and we do the boring, monotonous work that gets in the way of people doing their jobs. And what we like to address is the 90% plus of processes that aren't ready for pure old school outsourcing or pure automation. Many people in the insurance space have overinvested in both, but not received the results that they need to innovate and optimize. So, part of the reason for that is both automation and outsourcing have the same disease, where you have to either tell a human or tell an algorithm to do something very specific with minimum flexibility and minimum change. Whereas invisible, we quite literally solution a solution to your team's or a particular manager's specific workflow. And we find the best, fastest, cheapest way to do that work with either our agency of knowledge workers or custom automations that we build for you. So, again, we're tech enabled managed services for that messy middle, focused on just being able to accomplish your work in the best, fastest, cheapest way possible.
Okay, okay. So there's a lot here. Okay, so help leaders re-envision the way that the work gets done. Okay,
Yeah.
liking it thus far. So ultimately, you guys are a tech-enabled managed service provider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Um, Basically, you handle the boring stuff that gets in the way of getting the work done.
Yeah.
Got it. I did find it super interesting, the last two things that I took notes of. So you addressed the 90% of the process, 90% of the process that can't be automated, can be outsourced. This is a super, there should be a word. And if there isn't a word in the English language or in the tech world or in the process world or in the project management world, anyway, there needs to be a word in business for this for the work that can't be automated or outsourced. Is that the core work? Is it the key work? Like I'm trying to think. Like I've got an MBA, a CPCU. I've had so many conversations around this topic, and there's no word for this, is there?
No, I believe the word we have on our website is drudgery, but
Drudgery.
that's not all encompassing.
Okay.
So a good example I can give
Uh-huh.
you of what this work that gets in the way of somebody's job looks like is the role of an analyst. We scale a lot of operators and a lot of people who touch a lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the job of an analyst? It's to look at data, turn it into insights, and then relay that to management so that they can make data-driven or
Yeah.
insight-driven decisions. What does an analyst spend the majority of her time doing? Aggregating, normalizing, sanitizing, structuring data sets so
Mm-hmm.
that she can eventually look at it, make sense of it, and then pass it up. Imagine how much value you could get if you could scale analysts.
Yeah, so
Team.
we can put a persona on this
Yeah.
okay, so Crystal, right? You and I met Crystal.
You
She
want to
had a
scale, Crystal?
complicated last name, so I can't
Yeah.
remember it. But anyway, Crystal is an innovation analyst at a carrier. Uh, and you literally asked her, you're an analyst,
Mhm.
how much of your time do you spend in stuff that is not being an analyst, right? In putting the data
Yeah.
together, cleaning it up, all that low value stuff. What we're paying you for is the analysis. And so the we're paying you to figure out insight from the data and to
Yeah.
deliver that insight to management in a way that they can digest, right?
Precisely.
How much of your time do you spend doing cleanup or admin or
Yeah.
right? And she literally answered 90%.
Yeah.
And I was there, right? I saw it
Like,
happen. It was
like
amazing.
that.
So
Yeah.
I totally, yes, totally got it. Also, super interesting, this perception of insurance has overinvested in both automation and outsourcing.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that, because from what I've seen, we're not particularly well automated. We're well outsourced, maybe over outsourced,
Yeah.
but we're not particularly well automated because our systems are so crappy, at least in the carrier space.
Right.
So how in what you've seen, how has insurance overinvested in both automation and outsourcing?
So I've talked to a bananas number of people at InsurTech. Bananas, right? And bananas number of people in the other industries we cover. For example, like supply chain and finance, where equally in need of innovation, equally operations and data heavy. All of them have also, looked to the beacon of automation as the answer to all their problems. But the problems are not necessarily automating. It's the change management and the process innovation and optimization along with other tools. Automation means that when you bring in automation internally, that means that usually you buy a license for an automation technology, and then you go and you hire very expensive, often 200K a pop engineers who can build these custom internal automations.
I can find those for you.
Yep. And then
Just
those,
saying.
just so you know, you may, if you need them and you're ready. So you buy like a 6-figure license, and then you buy your team of 6-figure engineers. And then
And
those
you
engineers, once you
but
hire them,
by the way, you paid the recruiting team 25% of each of those six-figure salaries to find you the right people.
yeah.
So it definitely adds up.
And believe me, sometimes you're solving multi-million-dollar problems. So yeah, but the thing is that what are you going to throw this team at first, right? And then what they do is they take the team and they go shop it internally. Like, you're going to solve this problem, you're going to solve this problem, and that may make sense, right? If the process that you're going to solve is going to stay the same in a relative way with not too much variability for a long period of time or an unforeseen amount of time. But sometimes you just have work that needs to be done. This is why we say future of work, where let's say you have these high, very expensive, rare engineers that you bring on board, which Tony can also help you find, listeners. But why are those engineers doing QA? Why are they doing data tagging and labeling? Why aren't they doing it, right? Why are they doing it, or why aren't they doing it? It's usually time and resources. So there are better solutions out there. I believe Invisible does offer a really good way to scale the existing people that you have, or even an evaluate to hire model, in getting some of this work done, understanding the change management, building and running the processes, and doing the actual work before bringing somebody in to own those processes. So it's a different way of thinking about work. Normally, how people think about work is they go, okay, I need this type of work done in this function. I think we have a VP there. We have this much money. Who are we going to put under this VP? I think we can afford a director. Great. Let's go hire a director. So you go hire a director. And you throw all this stuff at this one director in this particular area. Then the director has enough and goes, I can't take this anymore. I have too much work. I have overflow. I need to hire 2 managers, 1 senior. And then you can see it's a cascading effect of tasks and work, right? So what if you just scaled that VP and gave them a team at Invisible that got their work done with humans, and also was able to not optimize the process on a continuous basis, and also remove their tech debt and create custom automations to make their processes more efficient? Por qué no? I don't know.
Okay.
Hence the future of work. Why just hire in this cascading effect if you don't have to? Like, you bring in very valuable hires, Tony. Why would they put that person in a place where they're having to do a lot of grunt work that's low value or doesn't have a unique value add?
And it happens all the time. And by the way, it's bad at every step. It's bad for you, because you're paying basically what this person's skill set is worth in the market for their high value skill sets, right? And if they're only using their high value skills at 10% of the time, you're overpaying for 90% of the time, right? Yeah. And not only that, this person is probably bored with and becoming disengaged.
Yeah.
And I wish there was some research on this. There might be. I need to like dig into this, but there's probably a tipping point at which your very expensive person gets so bored with the amount of low value work they're doing that they start looking for their next adventure.
Oh,
right.
For sure. Oh, I have a little nugget from InsurTech. I met Ofer, who used to, be the COO of SAP Israel. I just put it here. He's now founder and CEO of 5 Sigma Labs, and they're innovating and optimizing the claims process, right? Okay. They're kind of creating a sexier experience for mid-market and below right now. And what he told me is that he has kids who are Gen Zs, and they don't work for the company. They work for themselves and whatever makes them happy and feel good. And you know what makes people feel bad? Bad tech, a bad UX for a younger millennial and
oh my God,
Gen Z. Bad tech is like, heck no. You can't even get them to like write a card. You expect them to go into this system from like the 90s that you've hacked together.
In insurance, it gets worse than that. We hire kids and put them in front of a green screen. I don't think you're old enough to know what a green screen is. Like, I've seen them. Right, I'm almost 40 years old. I've seen them. I did some of the applications I worked with on my very first job out of college in trucking in 2006 were
Mhm.
still green screen. Uh, we reached them through a Windows, terminal, and it was one of those things where we're like, part of it was a web-based portal, and part of it was still a green screen. Um, yeah, forget about it. Like a kid graduating from college this year or last year, the last few years, putting them in front of a green screen, and they just have no freaking idea what you're like. This is a factory for turnover,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm. And that's not even to do with the work. It's just the tool they have to do the work in, right? It's like it doesn't matter if you're, a college swimmer, like college level swimmer. You go into a shitty pool that's like full of muck, that's tiny, you're not going to be doing wonderful laps, right? There's
Okay,
something about
so
user experience that makes people want to do their
so
job.
bring it down to earth for me.
Do
So I run a small carrier or even an insure tech,
yeah.
or a large broker or whatever, some sort of insurance organization, and we have some technical debts. Maybe we just moved to Guidewire. Uh, maybe we're still on a crappy system. How does Invisible get rid of this problem for me?
So you're talking about getting your data ducks in a row to be able to use something like a guide wire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just shared with you here, by the way, in the side of like reasons why process automation initiatives fail. Little light reading for your listeners. But when you're bringing on a new solution, you don't just start using it, right? It's not you alone to just walk into a new system and everything changes. There's a couple things that need to happen. One, you need to usually bring together the team that is going to now be using this. You have to take a look at your existing processes within the current system and say, okay, what are we actually doing here? Who's doing what? Let's just get this down on paper if it's not already there. Then you have to take a look at the new system and see what type of change management from a process and resource standpoint this is going to take to properly not only set up, but administer and also use. There's a lot of things that need to happen to be able to move forward with a solution. That's why you end up with a lot of shelfware, is that you don't change the process, you don't prepare the people, and you don't prepare the information. Or if you do, you kind of do it in piecemeal and make people carve out times from their existing job to make this tool work, right? But what could happen, say with like an Invisible, is you could say, okay, this is our current process. This is the process that we want to have. This is our golden state, right? And what we could start to do is get your data ducks in a row, as I like to say. So start like moving over things from one system to another, archiving things that don't belong, and start to work and operate and learn as much about the process as possible for the new ideal state. So one thing that we came up with through InsurTech was, hey, it's going to be really hard for Invisible to lean in there with a big carrier and just get right in there from the get-go. It could be a 1 to 2 year POC process. But where Invisible's flexibility and speed could really come into play and be helpful for these, like a new guide wire or something along those lines, would be POC operations. What if the vendor Guidewire, and what if a large carrier had Invisible in the middle to help facilitate the process of change management and onboarding and testing of a solution, right? What if someone could handle all the drudgery? What if someone could help think about what the process would look like? What if someone could do the calling back and forth, the tracking things down, the stuff that is tech, but maybe requires a couple humans in the loop? It's not something that we're unfamiliar with, since we do have experience with like post-merger implementation plans or integration plans. This would be just solely focused on accelerating the process that is mostly delayed, aside from red tape and legalese, but actually figuring out how to use it and make a case to get it through legal and procurement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So I'd love to, if you have them, I'd love to hear a couple of client success stories. And you don't have to use client names. You can if you want to, and if you're allowed to. On our side, there's no limit. Um, But yeah, I'd love to hear a couple of client success stories with insurance organizations.
I'm trying to think of something that would be particularly relevant to this crowd. Would something be okay on the broker side?
Yeah, absolutely. Half of our listeners are broker side.
Oh, be great. Okay. One really good one that I could help with is that we were able to 6x their underwriting speed within a couple of weeks.
Hold on, did you say? Okay.
Yes.
I believe I
6x
heard
underwriting speed,
6x.
as
Like,
in 600%.
holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
So,
cut their underwriting.
yes.
Okay. So tell me, that's amazing. Like, I think that every chief underwriter would be interested in that. Tell me more.
So, a hurricane hit South Florida, and a mid-sized insurance company accumulated a backlog of 4,000 policies that needed to be rejected within 90 days, or they would automatically be renewed, uh, usually at a loss to the business. So, to get through this backlog, the team needed an additional 10 full-time employees approximately. But instead, they found us and they worked with us. And what we were able to do is burn through the backlog at 6x the normal pace, because we were able to run 14 processes for this business and see them through and prepare them for another hurricane. So they had an 80-page workflow that prepared policies for that. Sorry, they had a 80-page workflow of prepared policies or an underwriting process that we had to learn and internalize and go through.
And you were able to
That's
go
80
from.
pages, 4,000
Yeah.
policies.
So how long did it take? So they had 90 days, right? So how long did it take from panicked phone call
Mhm.
to processes automated or semi-automated or process is invisilized
Yes.
uh, and we're done renewing or
Yeah.
non-renewing rather.
Yes. So what we know is that we were able to beat the results of going through those 4,000 policies, with the 80-page workflow 30 days earlier than their previous best. And by giving them back an extra 30 days during this business critical period, the team was able to make decisions more quickly. They were able to make better decisions and more rigorous decisions that what they wouldn't have done without those 30 days. Like, think about what 30 days can do for your business after a hurricane.
All right. Yeah. Amazing.
Mhm.
Perfect. Beautiful. So I always like to look at the company website while I'm chatting with the company.
Mhm.
And sometimes I actually like to share it, make it an appearance in the video. So let me bring the website in because there's a part of the website that I really, really liked. Uh,
Mm.
Basically, so invisible.co, and then I clicked. I went through different things, but I clicked on why invisible, and I really like a couple of things here. Number
Ooh.
one, this client quote is fantastic. Anything my team doesn't want to do, you can do better and cheaper. Whether it's a $50,000 job or a $150 a month job, you've got it. Amazing. That's exactly what we need in our industry. And then I this part of invisible as an extension of your team. Uh, love the emojis, by the way, because I love this emoji, the thinking the thinker emoji. Uh, so in your team hates drudgery. Agreed. Invisible loves drudgery. Your team is not particularly capital effective. Invisible can cost 30 to 50% less than an FTE, and leverages your people. No hiring, training, or turnover. Comes with a tech staff and a manager. So I overall I love this idea of it's not replacing the people, it's enhancing the people. It's right.
Yes.
It's the and by the way, so here very well explained. Basically, you guys do BPO, RPA. Haven't looked at the talent marketplace. I definitely want to learn about that. Workflow automation and even virtual assistants.
Yeah.
So I I'm a chess player. I'm not a very good one, but I'm a chess player. And having grown up as a chess player in the 90s, I trained under the Costa Rican champion of that time, Bernardo Gonzalez, and inherited um, his admiration for the world champion at that time, Gary Kasparov,
Of
Russian,
course.
and I believe Russian, pretty sure Russian. Now I don't thought he might be German. No, I think
Oh, definitely not German.
okay, Russian. Let's say Russian, probably Russian. Okay, it's a good safe bet for chess champions. Anyway,
He's Russian.
Thank you. Kasparov has talked, and he's had a successful business career post his long chess champion career. And the reason I bring him up is because he has some really good quotes about how the best chess player in the world is not Magnus Carlsen, and it's not an AI with a supercomputer with Watson behind it or Deep Blue behind him or whatever. The best chess player in the world is Magnum Carlsen playing with an AI assistant, playing with the right technology, helping him out.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what you guys are offering here. You're offering the technology to help my people do better with the assistance of your people in getting the damn thing deployed, which is the biggest challenge we have every freaking time we bring in new technology. So I like it. I like the idea. Now, tell me about the talent marketplace. We haven't talked about that at all. It's listed on the website. No warning that I was going to ask you about it, but
Well, we kind of have a secret sauce there that is a bit proprietary, but I'll tell you a little bit about Invisible in general. So we definitely dog fooded a lot. Invisible is comprised of two parts. So we have Invisible, we have the partnership, mostly employee owned, and Shal can go into as well.
nice.
But it's the people who run the business, myself included. And half of that is an automation team who are building custom automations for our clients and also building internal tools for the second part of our business to be more efficient, our agency. Our agency is a global workforce of knowledge workers from over 60 countries and 30 languages. Many of them have been with us for a long time. It's sort of our way of ensuring that the entire global community, right now we have about 1,200, have an opportunity to be globally upskilled and have access to be able to work from home with their cat on their lap and do data labeling for large AI companies. It's how we retain. It's how we make sure that we build some subject matter expertise in a very rare area, which is tech-enabled managed services. And, it's how we also come up with our blueprint of, how can we figure out how to scale and automate our agents' work so that they can be deployed to things that they prefer to do, that they have unique value at currently. Does that make sense?
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're running out of time here. Any final words? When this goes live, I will tag you on LinkedIn. I will tag Invisible. I will include the link to invisible.co. There's a chance that I will remember to include the link to the Forbes article. If not, people, if you want to read the Forbes article, message Suzanne and she'll send it to you. I'll try to remember to include in the show notes.
I'll include it too.
And any closing comments about Invisible and why the listeners who are mostly carrier and broker leaders and some insurtech leaders, why should they give you a call instead of the other 10,000 people at ITC?
What is not what has to be. And our ideal champion is not a SMB mid-market enterprise model. I came in and we were doing that. And I was like, no, that actually isn't accurate. We have a psychographic profile of who works best and plays best with Invisible. And it's the growth-minded leader who is allergic to stasis. Somebody who goes, why do I do it this way? Do I have to do it this way? And can I do it better? And if you're thinking that way or feeling that way, even if that's not your nature, is it worth 30 minutes to look into a better way of doing things?
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Uh, Stay in touch, and cannot wait to see you. And that goes for both my guest today and all the viewers. Can't wait to see you at the next ITC. You really don't want to miss it. It's on Halloween week, people. It's on Halloween week. What else do I have to say? Come on, give me a crowd of like 15,000 people to cheer me in my Rocket Man costume or whatever I end up going with. Anyway, a real pleasure chatting with you today. The more I learn about Invisible, the bigger fan I become. Yeah, I like it. Thank you for joining today.
I appreciate you.